just a conversation. That's it.
Um, um, okay.
All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Samantha, realtor with Baylago Brokerage Inc. And today I'm here with my father, George, who is also my broker. Dad, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello, George Almodovar, the Puerto Rican cowboy at your service.
And we're here today because I want to have a conversation with him, but the point I want to get to is I think his story and his background can really provide a lot of hope for people that come from the same background as him, because he has come very far in life, and I think we can learn a lot of lessons from what he's achieved.
Great,
What do
sounds
you
good.
think? All
I'm
right.
ready. It's
So-
not practice, so let's see.
This is all improvised. All right. So let's just talk about now, where you are now in life, how your business is going, what you've achieved, your goals, and just kind of where you are in every aspect of life, spiritually, in your career, emotionally, and go ahead.
Okay. Well, like anything in life, you have to first go to struggles. I believe, just like in the scriptures, that in order to become gold, you got to first go through the fire. You have to be refined, right? So you could get the purest gold. Well, that's how it is in life. We all go through troubles and tribulations. However, if you are persistent and consistent and you keep on, it's like going through a glass ceiling, right? You're climbing up the stairs and you're trying to break through, and eventually you do break through, and that's all of a sudden you seem to all of a sudden become successful. But there's a lot of work involved, a lot of determination, a lot of desire and passion. And thank God now I'm actually considering doing pretty well because I stood the course.
And you saw that breakthrough just recently, right?
That is correct, around 6 months.
Ago. Explain where you were 6 months ago.
6 months ago, honestly, I was in a very hardship, and one of the reasons why was, many know that we had last year, we had COVID. So all the businesses were basically shut down. This business I had just opened up. I invested a lot of money into this business. So basically, I was not going to let it go. So I went through hardship because honestly, this is a secret. I had to borrow money just so I could keep these doors open. I knew I was going to do better, but it was very stressful. And I went through stressful situations to honestly keep this business doors open, borrow money, and like we say in Spanish, cada santo le debía una vela. Just to keep this open because I knew I had my time, my day that I was going to do better because I'm good at what I do. But the market was shut down temporarily, and I went through that, and I was able to overcome that.
Okay, so during those financial hardships, what were things you looked to for motivation and just to inspire you to keep moving? Because it was obviously very tough. You went through a lot. So what pushed you? What gave you that fight? You know what I mean?
Determination, my power to become better, my faith, my experiences, because I have had a lot of experiences in the past. I mean, I'm the author of the book called The No BS to Making Millions in Real Estate. I've been up there. I come from humble beginnings. I used to live in an abandoned building many moons ago, but I was able to become a millionaire in net worth. And I'm not going to get too much into that story right now, but eventually I almost lost everything. So I know what it is to make it and then lose everything. So I knew that my financial thermostat is not set like the average thermostat. It was set up here. So even though it went down, I knew, just like a GPS, right? When you're going to go to a destination, you may veer course, but no matter what, it brings you right back to course. That's how it was. My financial thermostat was up here, and I was not going to settle for this right here, okay? And that's what kept me going, and I knew I was going to do better, and I, hold on to the faith. And I went through a lot. I mean, I was almost even being evicted. I had a lease option to buy my house. The lease had expired, so I was going to get evicted. I have girls, and since I left New York when I came here to do better, I said, I can't lose everything. I practically lost my family. I went through separation with a long-time marriage. They went after, I got sued. They went after my accounts. My accounts were frozen. I had an $80,000 vehicle that was towed, okay, from in front of my house was taken, okay, repossessed. And it's not because of payment, because it was paid in full. It was because of a lawsuit. I mean, it's incredible what I went through, but I persevered. Anyone else probably would end up in a hospital. I could have ended up in a hospital, honestly, but I said, I believe in God, and I know God is not going to abandon me. And as long as I keep going forward, God will help me. That was my faith. And sure enough, I was able to overcome. But also I thank for those people that helped me out in those hard times. There was very few. Sometimes even my own family backed away from me. But there were people that would actually help me And I thank them. One that I will mention that's well known is Miguel Maurice with New American Funding. Okay, he came to the plate. He lent me money. Thank God. Obviously, I paid them back, but thank you, Miguel, because I would not have been here if it wasn't because of you, as well as a cousin that I have in New York. So they were able to help me out, and I was able to keep these doors open. And thank God, I'm still here, and now I'm doing great.
Yeah. All right. So now, before we go back to your upbringing, your background, I really want to go into that. Let's talk about your goals now that you've achieved so much. You've achieved basically your dreams. What are your new dreams, and what are the steps going forward?
Okay, I believe when you wanna, especially in real estate, like anything, you gotta have that desire and that passion. Well, you gotta focus. What we call in real estate industry, farming your area. You gotta focus in an area. You can't be all over the place. Okay, when you're marketing to somebody, you gotta hit that person 10 to 12 times before they even remember that you are a realtor, so they could call you, use your services. Your mother will forget about you. Okay, so if you want to remember your parents and your friends and family members, remember you're a realtor, you got to remind them. Don't assume they know, because they will forget about you and they're like, oh, that's right, my cousin is a realtor. It happens, and you're going to feel really bad because you did not speak to them 10 to 12 times. So I like to focus in the areas. This is what I did in Bella Lago. I became the Bella Lago expert realtor. I focused in that area, saturated that area, constantly promoted myself in that area. Every door direct mail, next door, Facebook. I target the area. Back when I started, Facebook was able to target an area within 1 mile radius, which was great because I was able to really focus on Bella Lago. But then they took that away. Now it's 15-mile radius. So what happens is that's millions of people, and obviously you can't be promoting to millions of people. It's like throwing something in the wall and expect it to sit and it's going to fall down, right? So I still focus in that area, and now that I've grown, thank God, and I'm well known, I'm still targeting that area. Now we're moving on to another larger, much larger community, which is Sola Vida. So we're just going to begin our Sola Vida, and we're going to start targeting that neighborhood as well, and probably take part of that, that market.
So that's the next goal.
That's my next goal.
Okay. Cool. All right. Now I want to get into your background. They don't know, but I know what a rough background you had, and where you came from. Just to start it off, I want to know what your earliest memory is. As far back as you can go, what is the first memory you can think of?
My first earliest memory that I can think of, I'm not sure if I was 3 years old, 4, but I remember being very young in diapers and throwing my pacifier out the window and my bottles. I remember doing that, honest to God. And my mother would scold at me, but that's how early I remember.
All right. My next question is, what did your parents do for a living?
Okay. My father, he was a high school dropout, right? Actually, he dropped out at school very early. He was in Puerto Rico. He was from the countryside. So it was hard for him to travel long distance to go to school. So he dropped out early. My mom came in from Puerto Rico, so she was 12 years old. And she went to high school, but she also dropped out. So she was on for a while on welfare assistant. Okay, so it was very humble beginnings, like I said. My father, who didn't speak English, okay, minority, he used to work as a security guard, and that's how we kind of survived. But it was very, very hard at those times, to support, pay rent, pay bills, especially with 4 kids. It was me and actually 5 others, because we also had our uncle living with us.
All right, so being that your parents were in the situation they were in, living a life of poverty, did they ever have conversations with you about wanting to better themselves or wanting to live a better life? Or because me growing up, you and mommy raised me to always think like I could do whatever I want in life. I could be better than what you did, and I can do whatever it is I want to do in life. I can achieve that. Did they ever have those conversations with you?
Well, my father actually had dreams about owning real estate. I mean, later on in his life, he bought a small little house in the countryside in Puerto Rico, but that was way later on. But most of the time, I guess one of the best part of his life was when he became a minister. He became an ordained minister, a reverend, a pastor to a congregation. But he never really amounted to that much, but spiritually, he was rich, So that did help me out in life, because growing up in a really rough neighborhood where, I've been shot at, you get jumped and all that. Especially because of my color, even though I'm Puerto Rican, that color got me in trouble a lot of times. Well, the fact that he was a reverend pastor, that fear of God helped me out a lot and took me out of a lot of trouble. I did a lot of things growing up. I mean, I grew up in a rough neighborhood. It was a different mentality, right? This is why I got involved in boxing to defend myself. I had to, but that's the way it was growing up. Yeah.
So did they ever tell you like do better? You know what I mean? Go to school, get a degree.
Yeah, of course. My mother, my father wanted me to go to school. Maybe my father was a little hard. I'm very hard on me actually, because since he was a dropout, he didn't understand that a or 95 was great. I was getting my report cards. No, he wanted 100. He wanted A plus. And believe it or not, sometimes he would punish me because he wanted A plus. He didn't realize how hard it was. And then that created a way of me that I had to be better, okay? Better at things and push myself, because he's still in the back of my head even though he's not with us no more. That makes sense. So I always strive to be better or become better.
Okay. So that was your mindset when you were younger, your teenage years, your young adult life. Your mindset was you had goals and you wanted to, what was it? Did you?
Absolutely. I always had the entrepreneurial spirit, because honestly, since I was a kid, because I was very poor, humble beginnings. When I mean poor, sometimes we had white rice, maybe with eggs, and we were lucky. I remember just having old bread sometimes. We didn't have that groceries and all that food we had a lot of times, right? My mother used to get food stamps, so we had food for the first 2 weeks, and then by the third week we started dying out. It's a large family, and sometimes we were very low on food. But we always ate, but we didn't have the luxuries we have now. But I'm lost the thought. What you saying about the question?
So what was your mindset? Like, what was your
Okay,
goal?
so like I said, I always had the entrepreneurial spirit. So I actually used to go, I kid you not, I used to buy these candies for like a cent. I used to sell it in school for 5 cents. So I used to buy the candy for 5 cents and maybe sell it for a quarter. So I always had that entrepreneurial spirit. I used to go outside. I used to sell handkerchiefs for the old lady. And I was a little kid, and people used to feel sorry for me, and. So they actually used to come buy from me. I sold coco and piña, and I used to go down coco para lo loco, piña para la niña, which is an IC that you used to sell. So I was always selling. I always had the entrepreneurial spirit. I always knew that I wanted to do better. I did not want to be stuck in the ghetto where I was from. No offense. But, I want the better for me, for my life, for me in my life, especially when I had kids. I want the better for my kids. I used to see a lot Mr. Rogers. It was a beautiful day in the neighborhood. It was a beautiful neighborhood. I thought that was fake until I actually came here to Orlando to World Disney, and I said, wow, this is unbelievable. Because when I was growing up, we had toilets outside the house, old mattresses, burned out buildings, drugs all over the place, shootouts, people overdosing. I see people getting stabbed and the necks cuts right in front of me. I've been shot at. We went through so much stuff growing on, in that neighborhood that, it was normal to me at the time, until I realized later on when I moved out, and I was able to move out, that was not normal.
Okay. So before we go into your first businesses and, becoming an adult, moving out, I want you to tell the people that were stuck in your situation when you were younger and it seemed like they were living in poverty and there's no way out. What would you tell them to inspire them to just keep pushing and to strive for better?
Always keep moving forward. I want you to remember this. The brain is like a computer. It really is. And it has a lot of files, right? Back in the neurons or your memory banks. So what happens is, it's just a way of changing your perception, your paradigm, right? We can all see the same thing, but sometimes we have different color glasses, right? And that's how it is. So if you change your way of perception, the way of thinking, that changes your life. And let me tell you what I mean by that. If you think about why I cannot make money in America, for example, right? Because I'm from the ghetto. Your mind's going to back that up. It's going to go through its memory banks and pull up files of why you cannot make money.